In this video is everything you need to know about OP12 Rosinante, covering the playstyle of the deck, the key cards in the deck, the price of the deck, the meta viability of the deck, the difficulty and the matchups. Let's go. The playstyle of the deck is extremely simple, to be honest. As with the leader effect, once per turn, if one of your lords will be KO'd, add a life to your hand. This allows for you to have natural anti-removal to retain your board state, and has an activate main. Dom -1. During this turn, the next time you play a lore with a cost of 4 or more, you can reduce the cost by 2. This allows you to get ahead of the curve and develop more lore bodies early, which won't be able to be KO'd due to your leader effect. So for example, if you're on 6 Don, you can play a Searcher, Don -1, then play a 7 cost lore out for the 5 remaining Don. This is a brilliant way to get ahead of the curve, and essentially develop lore bodies earlier and stop them from being removed. The game plan ideally is develop a board of lores. Early on, get your 4 cost lore blocker out that ramps, then your 6 cost lore blocker, then your Rosinante or 7 cost lore to buff your other characters, and with your lead ability stopping the lores being removed, you can do this easily. You ideally want to go first, as the generic win rate of first is 41% and 36% for second, so overall first is better. Right, so here we have the Kadi Kaizoku decklist viewer, and I just want to say this website's really good, so if you want to look at your deck lists, here is all the stats, and it is a really good website to use that. So this is the deck list that I actually quite like. I did use a deck list finder, and this was the only one that I think that I actually gelled with. So we have the leader, which we've already covered. The next card is Trafalgar Army. This card is just a 2k, but has the ability of buffing one of our lores by 2000 power. This is a great tool, as if we're going for game, it can help us get that little bit more power on a swing, and overall a generically good card. Next we have the OP09 Rare Lore Searcher. On play, look at the top 4 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 Straw Hat or Hot Pirates type card with a cost of 2 more and add it to your hand. So this is just a generic searcher for all the lore stuff, which searches Beppo, lore, Gamma Knife, and this event. Is a generically good staple and does allow for some Straw Hat cards if we wanted to run some in the future. So overall just a consistency piece, which you should have already if you've opened enough OP09 as me. Next is the OP12 Rare Rosinante Searcher. On play, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 Trafalgar Lore and add it to your hand. Then place the rest at the bottom of your deck. Again, this is just a consistency piece and can search for literally any lore, including the Searcher. And again, just a really good consistency piece. Now we have Beppo, another 2k counter with the effect of your turn once per turn. When a Don card is removed from your field and returned to your Don deck, up to one of your leader or characters gets plus 1000 power during this turn. This is a utility card, so when we use our leader ability we get a little buff, which is quite useful in some circumstances, but really we're just going to use it as a searchable 2k off the 1 cost lore. Here is a promo lore with 2k counter again. If your leader has a supernova type and your opponent's life cards is a total of 5 or less, play the card. This is just a 2k in this deck that's searchable. Realistically we can't play it because Rosinante is not a supernova. Next we have the 4 cost lore. This is from Star Deck 10 but was also in Premium Booster. 1k counter with a blocker, and on play Don -1. If your opponent has 7 or more cards in their hand, you can trash 2 from your hand. This is one of the most fun cards in the deck, because if your opponent has 7 cards, you get to choose 2 from their hand. This was used a lot in Red-Purple lore, and can really help in this upcoming meta, as Blue-Purple Luffy usually has a lot of cards in hand, so just ripping 2 out that they have no control over can be really strong. Same with Kuzan, because Kuzan tends to have a lot of cards as well, and that helps regulate their hand. And a lot of people do forget about this lore, so it really can catch them off guard and can help you get card advantage, and it is a blocker that you can play out for 2 costs earlier. It is really good. And now we have probably the most vital card in the deck in my opinion, the new promo lore. 4 cost 6k power, blocker on play if the number of Don cards in your field is equal to or less than the number of your Don on your opponent's field, add up to 1 Don card from your Don deck and set it as rested. So if you're going first, you can play this Rosinante for 1, search for this, Don -1, play it out off leader ability for 2 and ramp it back and swing 5k. Early game, that is a really good play, and it won't get killed due to your leader ability, so it's one of the best things for Rosinante's early game in my opinion. This here is something that hasn't really been in many other Rosinante lists, but I think is quite useful. As you can see here, we do run a little bit of events, about 10, so this card can cycle them out and then draw 2. And this card, more importantly, is going to be buffed by this card, so it helps cycle and also get some Don up if you want to use this at the end of your turn, and it's also a 1k counter if you need it. So yeah, I really do like this card anyway, so having it in this deck list so it can be buffed by this is really helpful too, as this deck does struggle with draw power a little bit, so this would really help with that. Here is the 6 cost blocker lore. This is also quite a vital piece in this deck. It's literally just a blocker with 1k counter, 6 cost and 7k. Playing this out for 4 cost is really good. So when we're on 5 Don after we've just played this lore out, we can play another searcher to search for this, Don -1, play this out for 4, then swing 6, then we'll have 2 blockers on board that won't be able to be removed from KO effects. And blockers 6 and 7k are really strong in the early game, so the faster we get these out, the better. And now this is the main piece of the deck that will keep it going. 7 cost, 8k power lore. If the number of Don cards on your field is equal to or less than the number on your opponent's field, add up to 1 Don card from your Don deck and set it as active. Then your Rosinante and Hot Pirates type characters get plus 1000 until the end of your opponent's next turn. So this literally buffs every lore Rosinante. So this one, and your leader, giving it plus 1000, so our leader becomes a base 6k. And if we already have blockers on the board, these go to 8 and 7k respectively, and usually instead of leaving them as blockers, I have found to swing with them really helps. So essentially go wide with your lores and then play this out and then swing big. This is again the most vital card in the deck, I feel. People have been running the 7 cost Supernova lore from OP10, but I don't really like that too much. It does help you heal, but from my testing I just prefer to run this. You can run that. There is a variety of Rosinante builds out there, and not a lot of them have actually been doing too well. So you can probably be the person to crack the deck if you're brave enough. The 1 cost I Love You event. Counter up to one of your characters or leaders gets plus 2000 power during the battle. Then if you have 2 or less cards in your life area, add up to 1 lore from your trash to your hand. This event can help recycle lores that you have either blocked with or have died from your trash, and it's just a cog to counter out of attacks and keep your draw going. Again, it's not great. I mean, in the meta, we have to compete with Gum Giant, but this is a decent consistency piece for Rosinante as well. And here we have my favorite card in the game, Gamma Knife. For 2 Don -1, give to one of your opponent's characters minus 5000 power during this turn. This is essentially to help you deal with 8 cost kids and remove stuff a bit easier, because we can't really remove a lot with this deck at all. So this is probably the most vital card, and I'd probably run it up to 4 in the future. But yeah, this is mainly just to deal with 8 cost kids and other characters you kind of want to get rid of. Now for this event, 2 cost. This technique extinguishes all sound created by your influence. Bit of a long name. Main, up to one of your Trafalgar lore gets plus 2000 power during this turn. Then if that character attacks during this turn, your opponent can't activate blocker. I will specify this is poorly worded, but it means every time that lore swings. So it doesn't work. So if that lore swings for 8k, for example, if it's this one, that's the only attack that can't be used blocker on. It's literally just Perfume Femur, but for lore. Yeah, I do quite like it when I'm going for game. And if you don't need it and it's a brick in hand, you can just cycle it out with that Rosinante anyway. So it's never truly useless in this deck. And yeah, I quite like it, especially when going for game or removing your body if they have a blocker on board, such as Kid. Now let's go on the price of the cards. The alt leader I imagine to be extremely cheap, probably being around the Shirahoshi price at the minute of 15 to 20 pounds. Lami will be almost nothing as it's an OP12 common, so you will at least get a playset in a box or some for free at locals. The 1 cost Lore Searcher is really cheap too, around 20p per card, and released in OP09, so if you haven't already got them, you should be able to get them relatively cheaply. The Rosinante Searcher will be extremely cheap upon release too, as this deck won't be too popular, so you'll be able to pick up some for almost free or like 20p at most. The Beppo is also pretty much free and abundant as it is an OP09 common, so you should not really have an issue guessing this. This lore at the minute is a regional only promo, so will be expensive, but will be in PRB2, so the price will get far cheaper then. But in the meantime, probably around 4 to 5 pounds, I imagine. But it is a promo, so it really could be anything. This lore is like 7p per card, so you can get them really cheap on card market right now. This promo lore is the top 3 most important card in the deck, but we legitimately have no information on when we're going to get this card, so I really can't say for this, which is really unfortunate. This Rosinante SR is legit 10p at the minute, and it's very cheap, so I'd heavily advise picking them up ASAP. The 6 cost lore will be very cheap too, as it is an uncommon, so you should be able to get them quite easily. The 7 cost lore will be a very cheap SR, probably like less than £1 a week from release. So for a playset, I'd probably say around £2. This new event will be very cheap too, so negligible as well as these next 2 events being incredibly cheap too, and Gamma Knife also be reprinted in PRB2. Overall, this deck will be extremely cheap to build, apart from the promo lores, as we do not have any concrete information on these. So I would say you could genuinely build this deck for 20 quid, and that's the maximum, with the promos being like 4 to 5. But it really depends on the promos, I will add. For meta viability, this deck is not really there. On a tier list, it would be either D or E in the current meta, with Blue, Purple and Zara reigning supreme. They can't really fight against any of them. But this is with little player rate and not a lot of people trying to crack it. With the current time of the video, this is looking like an locals off meta deck. For difficulty to play, this deck is rather off meta, so it will be hard to actually get results on this, to be honest. So you will be fighting constant uphill battles. But mechanically, the deck is not too hard to learn, and the cards you play are really simple. So it's not difficult to play, but to get results, it's going to be a tough one. But if you main this deck, you'll actually be able to get some good results when optimized, and you can make little changes to it in the future. It does have favorite matchup matchups and is incredibly favoured into Blackbeard, as we will add soon. We here will go over each relevant matchup, say whether to choose first or second, and how to play each matchup briefly. Teach. First 66% and second 65%. This matchup is favoured, as Teach's game plan of removing our bodies won't happen due to our natural KO protection, and we can still cheat out larger bodies quicker too, which they won't be able to remove. Going first and second doesn't really matter too much here, so it's up to you really. I would say second to prevent 10 cost Teach, but to be completely honest, it really doesn't matter too much. Overall, the game plan for Teach is literally just get your bodies out and swing. You can get bigger bodies out for cheaper using your leader ability, so it doesn't really matter too much. Koala. First 54% and second 58%. So go second here, but still first is favoured. Koala here plans to go second, play Hakon 4, get some early game removal and go from there. But they will not be able to remove our laws with that or with swings. In this matchup, going second isn't our curve, but it does rob Koala's curve, which is so much better than going on ours. On 4, you can swing 7, then play the 4 cost promo law for 2 to get back to 4, then on 6, on play a searcher, then the 7 cost purple law through leader ability and get ahead really quick. Sanji. First 44% and second 43%. From now on, each matchup is kinda unfavoured, which does tell the story of this deck at the minute. In this matchup, your 4 cost laws can be bot decked with Culverine and bounce with Booth Burst, so be aware of that and try to get your bigger laws out, as the Sanji's game plan is just to cycle events, get the 3 cost Sanji's out, 4 cost Rages out, which we can't really get rid of, which is something this deck really does struggle with, a lot of removal, because we pretty much have no actual good way of removing a body, other than Gamma Knife, but still that's not great. You have to focus on robbing cards from the Sanji's hand with a 4 cost SR law here, and get your Rosinantes and bigger laws out as your game plan. Yamato. 45% going first and 42% second. Here the Yamato's game plan will be very simple as just swinging big, so go first, get your blocker laws out earlier, and just block her up essentially, getting your 6 cost blocker out as well, and late game using your Rosinante to cycle events and draw cards, and get done up to get back laws from your trash with the 1 cost event. Green-yellow law. 45% first and 39% second. Here is another kind of template matchup of going first. Get your promo law blocker out earlier, then just play as you would against any other generic deck. Get your 6 cost law out earlier as well to block the early game attacks, and then get your other laws and Rosinantes out after that. I will say this deck has little freedom and doesn't have too many options to actually deal with things, which is why it has so many unfavoured matchups, which is a shame really. Rosinante does have a very template way to play with little flexibility around that, but there are matchups where you do need to know whether to go first or second really, just to choose that. But I hope in the future this leader will get more support and will be able to fit better into the meta. Black Purple Luffy. First 46% and second 38%. Here, go first to get your curve and rob the Black Purple Luffy. They can't kill your law bodies, which really helps, so here just play the template Rosinante way, I guess. This deck really just have only one way of playing, and the curve is simply just go first. Shanks. First 41% and second 42%. Here it doesn't matter too much into Shanks. The good thing is essentially they can remove 1 body per turn, which you can stop despite taking life. So just play the template Rosinante way and swing 6Ks at him. Buggy. First is 49% and second is 32%. The first and second curves here really are different, so just go first here, no questions asked. Again, you can't really do too much here to disrupt the way Buggy plays, so get your bodies out earlier and go first to play on your curve and rob the Buggy's curve. Kuzan. First 38%, second 39%. It doesn't really matter here again, you can't really interact with their board, so just play the template Rosinante way again. The one thing here that will really murder you is Gravblade. So if your 6 cost law or other law gets Gravbladed, yeah, it's pretty much GG's from there. And now, first 33% and second 47%. Despite being unfavoured, going second isn't too bad here, as you can delay their curve and they can't kill your early game bodies with Gidatsu or 5 cost Nami. So you can develop quite a wide board and a decent board of laws with the bigger 7k blockers and the 6k blockers early and mid game, stopping leader swing, hence why on second you can actually do quite well here. Blue Purple Luffy. First 39% and second 33%. Here, go first. It is unfavoured, but you can develop bigger bodies earlier and try to swing big into the Luffy leader early. Your ability to develop laws earlier than you should here is legit the only thing slightly going for you, and late game the Luffy can stabilize, so play out you normally would as you've learned into the OP11 meta. Blue Yellow Nami. First 33% and second 32%. Again here it doesn't really matter too much, Sadly again, you can't really interact with their board, and your leader ability also draws them a card too. Here there is not much you can do. Red-Green Smoker, first 34% and second 29%. Here we have the advantage of Gamma Knife, so when they play Kid, we can deal with that. They haven't already killed our guys. But being honest, these lower matchups are just too much for this deck, and we can't really handle it with limited options. So again here, just play the template way and use Gamma Knife. Rayleigh, first 29% and second 28%. Really, the only way you truly win here is if Rayleigh draws absolutely nothing. Here, just focus on getting the blockers out to minimize the early damage and try to deal with their board. Going second is seemed to be 1% worse, but trust me, it is definitely better. Rayleigh's curve is heavily going second, and if he goes second, he'll just have too much pressure that we can never really even dream of dealing with if they get the forecast Luffy out. Green Purple Luffy, first 31% and second 22%. Again here, good luck to us, as GP just 9 out of 10 has too much, so we just gotta play the template way as usual, block her up, and go as wide as we can to get as much value out of the 7-cost lore as we can. Yellow Kid, first 28% and second 20%. Here we just play the template way again, as we can't really do anything about Kid's game plan, as when we stop lore dying, we take life, and Kid just starves us with the 4-cost Basil Hawkins. The 8-cost Kid, yeah, in short, we just really struggle here. Bonnie, first 23% and second 20%. Coming up, we have the saddest matchups, being Bonnie and Zoro. They just rest our laws, and they can't restand with 5-cost Carrot, so here we just get everything rested and stunned, and can't really do anything about it. Zoro, first 23% and second 18%. Here he gets everything rested and swung into, and so does our life, so whatever we play dies. If we stop it dying, we take a life, and Zoro swings into our life as well. So essentially the only way we win here is if our Zoro is cheating, and we call it out, or Zoro somehow dies mid-game. I hope the matchups haven't bummed you out of this deck too much. I really do think this deck lacks the ability to deal with our opponent's board. We just play bodies earlier and hope to go neutral, develop a wider lore board and boost them with the 7-cost lore and hope that's enough. There are so many ways this deck can improve in my opinion, and I think people just need to cook with it and it will improve. I just think people haven't really tried much with this yet. So yes, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you later.